Hello.
Okay. Rose Zhang, 71, and then also she is 1 over par for the championship. So kind of an even keel day, 3 birdies, 2 bogeys. Can you tell us from your perspective about the round?
Certainly. I felt like the first 2 holes I started off very strong, but I faltered a little bit, had 2 bogeys in the back 9 where I started, and that kind of rifted my round a little bit, but I was able to hole a really, really good putt on 17, and that kind of shifted my momentum into the back 9 where I turned over to the front, and felt very solid with my game in general. I knew that I had some errors yesterday that I wanted to prevent, so today I tried to work on those things and figure out how to play the course better.
Did the course play differently than it did in the first round?
Just a little bit. I was a very late tee time yesterday. This morning, from the start, it was a little colder, but on top of that, the wind was picking up. And I felt like this wind was a sort of wind that I was used to when I played back in the Carmel Cup of last year. So it felt a little more familiar to me, and I was just trying to get the ball in the fairway and on the greens. But I really had to grind it out since I wasn't exactly in the best approach when it came to greens and regulation.
8 strokes behind now, but certainly it's something you can make up. What might be your strategy as you play tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm really grateful that I was able to make the cut, and I'll be able to kind of steady myself and go into the weekend with a fresh mind. I've been in this position before where you have to chase, and it's nothing new to me, so I'll just be trying to do the same thing, get my game plan and try to hit as many fairways and greens, because that'll just allow you to gain more birdie opportunities, and that's all I can do.
Yeah. Open up to questions.
Rose, yesterday on number 8, you had a little difficulty there. What's the key to bouncing back after you make a big number?
Certainly. Well, it just came really suddenly. I felt like I was doing really well. I was 2 under, and just making that double, it definitely changed the momentum of my rounds. But all you can think about is the next tee shot and the next approach shot that you hit. And for me, that's all I can think about. So that's how I try to minimize, the momentum from shifting too much. But I think, in general, just large numbers, you really have to keep steady following that, have a good mindset into every single hole, and shake it off as soon as possible.
And then obviously you're one of the most popular players out here already. How do you handle the big crowds that you play in front of?
Super lucky that people like me out there, but I think that it does change a lot of how I play, just because you have people just randomly shouting at you and randomly cheering you on. It's great and all, but it's definitely something that I've never been used to or been accustomed to, since this is all very foreign and new to me. Week 3 as a pro, but I think that I'm just really lucky that they're out here and having a good time. I think that's how we grow the game, and just women's golf, there's more people watching, and it's incredible to see how many little kids, younger generations, and even adults are out here, even though they don't know the sport as much, but they just want to come and support every player out here, so I think it's really cool.
Another question here.
Hi, Rose.
Hello.
So you've said that despite going pro, you're going to continue to prioritize your education at Stanford.
Yes.
Why is that important to you?
For sure. First of all, I feel like this is an ambition on my own, from my own perspective, and for my own ambition. I think just being at Stanford has enabled me to reach new heights, not just from my golf game, but as a person, and through character development and meeting new people, being surrounded by incredibly talented people in their own right has really inspired me to just push forward and become better on my own. And I don't want that to end. I feel like the 2 years that I've had has been incredible, but there's so much more that I can learn. Therefore, it's not just the education that I'm looking for, but it's also just being in that environment and widening my horizons to push myself even further, not just on the golf course.
And then one more. There's also a lot of Stanford alumni out there supporting you today.
Yes.
Your coaches were spotted in the crowd, and you're playing alongside 5 other Stanford Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel?
It's really cool. I feel like the alumni, I guess, circle and network at Stanford is something that you just can't replace with anything else. It's such a cool experience to be surrounded by people who, we all have the same common, education and background in college, and we have our own, team spirit and fighting for each other. So I think that with everyone being together and even, with different years and different age gaps, we still have so much to talk about and so much commonality that I think it's really cool to see how big and amazing our alumni squad is.
Hi, Rose. Having 2 rounds under your belt, just kind of wonder where your nerves are, especially with the big crowd, this being the U.S. Women's Open at Pebble Beach. Have you settled in?
Settled in a little bit. Feel like, the game isn't exactly where I want it to be exactly, but you can't really have that many weeks where you're always on top of your game. So you have to really learn how to grind it out. And I think I'm slowly learning to do so. Once you're on tour, it's a lifestyle. It's not just, playing tournament after tournament. So I'm really just trying to navigate myself in that area, but it's really cool to I don't feel as nervous as I would have thought, I would say. If anything, I feel a lot of love and support.
You're always so process-driven, one shot at a time. Let me focus on this. But you
Right.
mentioned a word that I really haven't heard you say, chasing. You have to chase. Will that change your strategy at all? I know the greens are really small, but do you feel like you may have to take a few more chances tomorrow?
Yeah, no, objectively speaking, I mean, this is still a sport. This is still a tournament. You're playing to get better. You're playing against people. But of course, for me, I think I'm pretty realistic. But I don't think about chasing as much. But in order to put myself in a position where I can play well the next 2 days and try to, up that leaderboard, I have to change my game plan and be a little bit more aggressive, but at the same time, these are tiny greens, so just being in the center of the green is perfectly fine. So everything's the same. I'm just gonna try to figure out my game a little bit more, but 2 rounds under my belt, I feel a little more comfortable.
Last question here.
Hi, Rose. Just kind of similar to that. Did the cut factor into how you approached the last few holes in there, or was it just kind of a steady approach always?
It's a pretty steady approach as always, but of course you do have to, make sure that you're keeping the ball in play, and that's why I feel like in general I'm a bit more conservative, especially on this golf course at Pebble. Greens are tiny, fairways are narrow, and if you're in the rough, it just doesn't give you any room for mistakes or errors. So I think the next 2 days will be a little bit more of an aggressive approach, but I'm going to have to be able to hit those shots. So I think that's the first thing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.